And joining me now to break it down, attorney Bob Bianchi. And Bob, let's go ahead and start with that. Criminal charges here against Alec Baldwin. Are we going to see something, involuntary manslaughter or something else?
Well, as a prosecutor who used to make these decisions, especially in homicide cases, one of the things you have to do is you have to go to New Mexico law. You have to understand what it says. And involuntary manslaughter means you did not use due care and circumspection. Those are the words that it uses in order to prove an involuntary manslaughter case to 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. You can be assured here that there is something odd going on with the FBI report because, as was indicated by your reporter, it is accurate that the lawyer is saying, and we just don't know what the truth is here, that apparently this gun broke in two places when they were trying to test fire it. That certainly is going to go to Baldwin's defense if the prosecutor is going to file charges. Again, you got to think like a prosecutor thinks. Can I prove that case to those 12 jurors? The other issue that Baldwin is going to rely upon is that it is clear that there are actors on sets and that they point weapons at people and pull triggers, and that they are not the ones responsible for making the gun safe and make sure it's cold. Rather, the armorer and the assistant director, who in this particular situation admitted he did not check, handed Baldwin a hot gun. That said, last point, one thing that's really going to be of interest to me is supposedly there is an information that says he ignored orders not to do this cross draw and point the weapon at a person or have his finger on a trigger. If in fact that's true, that could be something that proves a lack of due care and circumspection.
I want to ask you a question about a point that one of our Fox colleagues made over the weekend in his analysis. He essentially said that he wasn't sure that this should be a federal case. This is not a situation where Alec Baldwin clearly intended to kill this woman. That is not what happened here. Whether it's negligence, whether it's involuntary manslaughter, or whatever the case may be, that this should really be tried civilly.
Well, I mean, the argument there is that it's an unintentional killing. It can still be an involuntary manslaughter if you don't use due care and circumspection. But the point that legal analyst is saying is that many times people die. It's unfortunate. It's tragic. It makes a great civil case. But before our laws criminalize conduct and force people maybe to go to prison, they put a much higher burden on it than they do in a civil case, which is much easier to prove. And
final question, Bob. Every attorney that I know was shaking their head when Alec Baldwin did that interview with George Stephanopoulos, and he, wanted to set the record straight. I believe he was advised, not to speak. That's what so many attorneys will tell you when something like this happens. And there's an ongoing investigation. Does that in any way complicate matters with respect to what happened that day, the weapon, all of these aspects? The fact that he came on TV, and I'm not going to say that he lied. I don't know that he did lie. He may really believe that that's what happened, that he didn't pull the trigger. It happens in an instant. He might have pulled it and not even been aware of it.
When I represent people that have a high public profile, they feel this need to go to the court of public opinion. And any decent criminal defense lawyer, whether you're innocent or guilty, is going to tell you, do not go there for the very reason that you're bringing up right now. Because one, it's not a good look. Two, if it turns out that what he said is not accurate, well, it may not necessarily lead to a criminal charge. The fact is, he could also be charged, if he said that to the police, with obstruction of an investigation if it turns out not to be true.
Bob Bianchi, all great points. We'll continue to follow this with you. Thank you so much.